In patch 10.0.5 of Dragonflight, Blizzard would make a majority of common and poor items transmoggable. This means that from the very start of WoW to now, any of those white or gray quality items you thought looked cooler than they should have can now be worn at all times. And in this video, we're going to go over some of the best items in the common and poor categories, ranging from looks, rarity, and how valuable they can be. Starting us off at number 10, we have the Violet Hat Transmog. This helmet was added at the release of Wrath of the Lich King and was originally clothwear exclusive. Thankfully, with the changes made in 10.0.5 patch, a lot of these white items on this list and others became cosmetics, meaning that anyone, regardless of their armor type or class, can now wear the items they just added to their appearance. To obtain the helmet, it's incredibly simple. All you need to do is go to the original Dalaran in Wrath of the Lich King, not to be confused with the Dalaran moved to the Broken Isles and Legion. Once there, locate the Threads of Fate shop in front of the Alliance entryway and head upstairs. There you will find an NPC named Camellia Banafash, a haberdasher. Then all you need to do is buy the hat from her for a measly 21 copper. Alongside it, you can also buy the purple turban she's also wearing when you arrive for 1 gold, 11 silver, and 22 copper. These are both basically completely free items to add into your transmog collection and are a good way to start the list. There are so many items that are hiding right under your nose and were just simply a vendor item in the past, so you easily forgot about them once the next expansion or even patch rolled around. So don't be fooled by your interest in a white or gray item and head straight to the auction house to buy it, as they will likely charge you hundreds of more gold in the process when you could be doing something as simple as teleporting to Dalaran. Just be careful so you can save your money. In the case of the Violet Hat, while it is in need of a visual upgrade, it's nice to have the ability to transmog a funny looking wizard hat on any of your characters, allowing you to go for a pretty low fantasy transmog for whatever needs you require. And at number 9, we have the Trainee's Hand Fan. This item was added with the release of Mists of Pandaria, and was one of the many starter weapons for creating a Pandaren character. It's also one of the only fan type weapons in the game, and while there are a few that exist in the offhand slot, this one has a recolor that was previously unobtainable until this patch. It's just nice to have some extra variety every now and then. It's a bit more important to know than other white items because of the very limited supply of the existing fan weapons in the first place. To obtain the fan, you will need to create a Pandaren mage character, and specifically a mage. The other classes will not work in helping you learn this offhand. You also must not select a level in the Exile's Reach, as you must start with the original Pandaren starting zone on the Wandering Isle if you want to loot the hand fan. Once you have done so, you literally just need to accept the very first quest and do as it tells you to do, and then loot the armor rack found below the hill you start on. Once you do so, you just need to equip the fan, and then you'll be all set and equip the fan on any eligible character that uses the offhand slot. You don't even have to keep the Pandaren afterwards. You can just get rid of them if you wish. Again, just another free transmog sitting under people's noses, and a pretty good one at that, as it's not limited to just Pandaren and helps capture a lot of aesthetics a transmog might be missing. And at number 8, we have the Ripped Ogre Loincloth. While these cloth pants have since been removed from the game and are no longer obtainable through its previous means, it still holds a spot on our list. Originally, to obtain these pants, you had to be playing WoW before the release of Cataclysm when the world got its massive revamp. With this revamp, the original method to loot these pants was removed, so sadly the only way to actually get this is some crazy person from back in the day has hoarded the item since they got it from the quest, and is then willing to sell it to you in either a trade or the auction house. Previously, to obtain this item, it was insanely difficult for Alliance, as they could only be looted from the non-glowing versions of the Gordoni dirt mounds found in Veralis. These mounds would be created by the horde-only quest Gordoni Cobalt, where the character set off to collect 12 Gordoni samples from these same mounds. In the process, you'd likely have unearthed a Ripped Ogre Loincloth Grey item, and would have vendored it like any other sane person at the time. So the only way for Alliance to get it was to wait for someone to start the quest, have a friend start it, and then let the Alliance player find the non-glowing mounds to get their loincloth. As is the case with many removed transmogs in WoW, this would certainly fetch an insanely high price on any market just due to its rarity alone. It actually had an appearance of the exact same in the Legion beta called the Shrunk Ogre Loincloth instead, but unfortunately never made it to the live game and has been unobtainable since. There are other loincloths with a very similar look to the Ogre version, thankfully. You can find them as the Aboriginal Loincloth, Barbaric Loincloth, and the Ancestral Woolies. So thankfully, not all is lost in your endeavors to have your character's entire legs stick out from the rest of your transmogs, if that's your sort of thing. Still though, the Ogre Loincloth finds itself at number 8 for its rarity and technical ability to still be obtained if you're lucky enough to come across it, and spend a lot of gold on it for the tribalistic look. And at number 7, we have the High Society Top Hat. This hat was added at the release of the Cataclysm and is primarily seen worn amongst the Worgen of Yolneas. It matches their intense formal attire, and more notably, the hat fits the Duskhaven suit set perfectly. This particular hat is not to be confused with the Duskhaven top hat, however, as that top hat is missing the golden brim around the High Society version. This top hat is also cosmetic, meaning it's actually usable by any class that wishes to have it, rather than just a cloth user with the Duskhaven version. In order to learn this helmet, you must have the pattern for it to be unlocked with Cataclysm tailoring. Its pattern would be a rare drop from the following rare NPCs: Mobus, Jalak Doom, Zeriona, Gar, Amakhat, Ritual Tiki Mask, and the Ancient Korhan. It may drop from other various NPCs related to Cataclysm, but these are currently the only recorded drops. Once learned, you go about gathering materials for it like you would any other helmet and can simply learn it, adding it to your appearance section. Because it's a white item and not a bind on equip, you can also just straight up buy it from the auction house, but this can typically sink you a good chunk of your gold in the process. After that, you can walk around like a stuck-up noble with parental issues and show off how much better you are because of your awesome top hat. It's generally a pretty easy farm and really helps capture a fancy nobleman look more than any of the other top hats in the game, especially since anyone can use it. And at number 6, we have the Pitchfork. Have you ever wanted to cosplay your character as a hillbilly farmer? Maybe you just want to grab your torches alongside a pitchfork to start a rebellion against some annoying guy from your high school or something? Well, look no further. The Pitchfork, while obviously low in quality, will suit all of your poking and stabbing needs. It is commonly found from the Farmer Ray and Farmer Get NPCs in the Hillsbrad foothills. It also can be found on random Hillsbrad farmers in the area, but is generally a much lower drop rate than the named NPCs. The Pitchfork is literally just that, a pitchfork. Nothing about it super crazy, but it really lets you portray yourself as a country bumpkin, if that's your sort of thing. And at number 5, we have the Haley Scan gear. This set would consist of 3 cosmetic pieces, one for the helmet, chest, and legs respectively. While the jacket and pantaloons look relatively simple, the biggest factor in wanting this set is the Haley Scan brimmed hat. These items are all added in patch 2.4.2 Fury of Sunwell from the Burning Crusade expansion. The set was named and designed after a state in Mexico called Jalisco, the birthplace of mariachi. Mariachi is a group of musicians that will usually play ranchera, a type of Mexican music that dates to the 18th century. The set itself is modeled after the classic charro outfit that is worn by the musicians of these bands. To learn the shirt and pants, you can pick up the patterns from the NPC Hodi Medoste in Tanaris and requires skill of at least 250 in classic tailoring. The hat is a bit more of a contentious method to obtain, as originally the only way to actually wear the hat at all times was from a toy. This toy was added at the start of Legion as Don Carlos's famous hat, which would put the hat onto your character and have this coyote spirit pet follow around at all times, which was rather annoying when you wanted to be alone and not have a low resolution wolf spirit following you constantly. To obtain the toy, you would need to go into the old Hillsbrad Foothills dungeon in the Caverns of Time and find a younger version of Don Carlos walking around the path leading to the main dungeon's mobs. Funny enough though, in patch 3.3 Fall of the Lich King, a quest was added to go back and earn the hat itself. You would simply speak to Don Carlos in the present, who is found at Tanaris, and he would give you a quest to put down his younger self. So you'd return to the dungeon and kill him again for the first time if you'd never seen the hat. Once you do so, you can return to Don Carlos, who will then give you the Helliscam brimmed hat that he wears as a reward. In Wrath, this was originally just a generic white item and a very short quest for fun, and mostly a thing for role players alone. Though, with the patch changes, now anyone can actually use it at all times, and the need for the toy is completely removed, thankfully. So if you ever wanted to have your character perform in a mariachi band, now you can. For number 4, we have the faintly Smoldering Torch. This torch was added in WoW at the release of Shadowlands. It surprisingly has a high resolution and is a solid looking low fantasy torch for Grey items turns. It being added in Shadowlands possibly suggests that Blizzard intended for Grey items to be transmoggable sooner, but unfortunately didn't get around to it until Dragonflight. Regardless, the torch persists in the game and can be used to light your path in any way you wish it to. To obtain the torch, you must loot the Batter chest or Forgotten chest around Revendreth. These chests can be accessed via the Travel Network upgrade from your Covenant upgrade system. So, this means you will need to belong to the Venthyr Covenant. Once you upgrade to Tier 3, it will grant you access to 3 times a day per character to a system commonly known as mirrors. These mirrors will teleport you to a random part of the Revendreth map. Sometimes you will need to kill a couple of mobs, but there will be a chest in each mirror that has a chance to give you the torch in the process. It's a pretty rare drop, considering Grey items in the past, but it shouldn't take you too long. There is another method to farm these chests outside of being Venthyr, and this just involves waiting for chests of the same name to spawn in the open world of Revendreth. Though, weirdly enough, they don't actually appear on your minimap and must be found all by yourself without and sometimes have a respawn timer of 45 minutes to 2 hours. It can be bought in the auction house if you don't want to bother with an annoyingly long grind, thankfully. It just depends on how much gold you're willing to sink into it. The chests you're farming in the process of this torch also have 2 more items of potential importance as well. These are the sturdy pitchfork and rusty hand sickle. They too are unusually high resolution gray items from the Shadowlands, and one is even the same pitchfork from entry 6, but with just a better quality in terms of looks. Maybe there was some sort of riot going around for Revendreth farmers, if they had any, and their materials were hidden away into chests after they were defeated by Denathrius for attempting an uprising. Though that's just a silly theory, they did only have pitchforks, torches, and sickles, common tools amongst farmers. And at number 3, we have the Blood Elf Bandit Mask. This mask was added with the release of the playable Blood Elves and Draenei in TBC. It comes as a drop from mobs in the Draenei starting zone and named Blood Elf Bandits. It's super easy to come across, especially if you're leveling a Draenei instead of just being a max level waiting to come across them. Its drop rate is rather forgiving too, thankfully. While it was intended to just be a momentary item to win your character as you started leveling, it was made a cosmetic alongside many other white items in patch 10.0.5. It can also be bought and sold in the auction house, but don't be fooled by its high prices depending on your servers. Just go farm it for a couple of minutes yourself and you should get it pretty quickly. Now, it's not insanely rare or anything, but it definitely looks cool. Really, any mask in the game makes you look super edgy, so it's always a welcome addition to your character, especially when many of the other masks in the game are just a single color and are usually cloth only. This same mask was a reward from a quest in the set that calls Dungeon as a quest reward, however. But again, this item was instead leather only and therefore not as rewarding for some like mail or plate users. Or maybe you just really want to look like a High Magister Romoth and become one of Lotharmar's personal advisors. And at number 2, we have Formal Dangui. This vanity dress was added in the final patch of Vanilla WoW from the NPC Guinea Sunshadow and Moonglade. It can be purchased for 73 gold and learned right away or sold in the auction house, as it's also bind on equip. It gets its name from a type of traditional Korean dress worn at weddings and other various ceremonies. What makes it so special on this list, however, is that the NPC who sells it has a very limited supply. Only a couple can be sold at a time, and the time it takes to restock can take literally weeks before having a chance to buy it again. Because of this crazy inconsistency in obtaining it, you can log in and check to see if the Dangui is available and log out, and the next minute it would become available and you would never know, thus starting another weeks-long process of waiting for it to appear. This has also created a very high economy for those who do not wish to wait for it to reappear, and instead sell in the auction house for hundreds of thousands of gold at a time. It's unknown why Blizzard chose to make the Dangui in this way, but regardless, it's what we have. The best way to farm it is to have a character parked in front of the NPC and just check daily. This works even better on a character from a much lower population realm, as less people will be in your way for competition. Just hope a lot of RNG on your side and you're able to snag this rare dress before anyone else does. And at number 1, we have the Soul Trader's Gear. This is a set of white items which was added in the Furious Sunwell patch in TBC. To obtain this set, you must first obtain the Soul Trader Beacon, otherwise known as the Ethereal Soul Trader pet. This pet was added as a TCG reward from the Ethereal Plunder card in the Hunt for Illidan expansion. If you unfortunately never were able to obtain this pet, it thankfully wasn't that rare and people would come across it pretty frequently. It's still rare to be sure, but compared to the other TCG items, it's far from the worst. It usually can be bought in the auction house for a pretty considerable amount of gold, but nothing not worth the bragging rights it gives you. Upon summoning the Ethereal, it already is more unique than almost any other companion pet. With the Soul Trader, he actually speaks to you and offers himself as a vendor of many items. This is how you collect the various items of this entry of the Soul Trader's bindings. However, you will also realize that he sells you these items with a very different currency under the name of Ethereal Credits. To obtain these credits, you would simply need to have the pet summoned at all times with you, and any creature you slay with him at your side with these rewards gives you credits. So for the full set, you'll need around 2200 credits, or around 2200 creature kills with the pet at your side. Once you have them all, you can turn them in and learn the appearance and then make yourself appear like a member of the consortium. So alongside its rare TCG method of obtaining, pretty lengthy grind, and an entire set to go with your gear, it earns itself a number 1 on our list since it's just super cool to look like an ethereal, or even use the various pieces for other types of transmogs. Alright, and that's the list. Are there any other gray or white transmogs that we may have missed, or do you have any ideas for future videos just like this one? If so, let us know down in the comments below.